Welcome to the 2021 West Coast Conference End of Year Award Show. I'm your host, Ezra Broder. It's time to celebrate a season unlike any other in West Coast Conference history. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. 3 teams won the ultimate prize, a national championship. BYU women's cross country, Santa Clara women's soccer, and Pepperdine men's golf all took home the hardware. And BYU's Connor Mance was the NCAA cross country individual champion. 2 more teams made it all the way to the national title game, Gonzaga men's basketball and Pepperdine women's tennis. LMU beach volleyball competed in the NCAA semifinals, as did the Pepperdine duo of Guy Den Oden and Adrian Oatsbach at the NCAA men's tennis doubles tournament. And 5 WCC teams were ranked number 1 in the country this season. Without further ado, let's get started. It's time to announce the WCC Postgraduate Scholarship Recipients. This year's female recipient is pursuing a master's degree in public administration with the goal of creating a nonprofit designed to empower women. On the course, she helped her team to a runner-up finish at the 2019 NCAA Cross Country Championship. Congratulations to this year's WCC Female Postgraduate Scholarship recipient, BYU's Olivia Hoy-Simister. You ran cross country and track for 4 years. You had a 3.94 GPA, co-president of SAC. How did you manage to balance everything?
It was definitely crazy, and looking back, sometimes I think it's a miracle I made it through each semester, but my coach was so supportive and helping to keep a balance with academics and athletics, and that honestly made such a big difference. Definitely kind of had to learn to prioritize and get the most important responsibilities done in the day, and then hope that there was some time left for socializing. And yeah, honestly, mentors and people helping me out was truly the reason I was able to do it all.
You're working on your master's in public administration with the goal of starting your own nonprofit, and sort of like you mentioned, your coach, Dilgy Taylor, has been a huge influence on you and kind of a driving force behind that goal. Can you just tell me about your relationship with her?
Yeah, so I was actually recruited by a different coach, and some coaching changes happened in my freshman year when I came into BYU. Coach Taylor started. So we kind of started the journey together. And BYU Women's Assistance was at a completely different point back then than it is at now. And she really has just raised the bar, and throughout, one of her biggest things is she wants to empower us as women, as well as she wants us to be great athletes, but she wants us to leave the program as contributors and people who are going to make a difference in the world. And her motivation and her instilling that confidence in me was really what helped me to figure out what my goals were, both athletically and academically. And that's kind of what led me to decide to apply for the MPA program at BYU and kind of chase that goal of being able to start my own nonprofit one day.
So you mentioned your goal is to start a nonprofit that essentially helps kind of connect women to other women and sort of build this network. Can you just kind of elaborate on what your vision is?
Yeah, so starting with the MPA program, I kind of focused on the nonprofit track so I could have those skills. But in thinking about my life, Coach Taylor specifically, and I've had so many other mentors. Liz Darger has been incredible throughout my whole time at BYU. And really these mentors, and specifically women with Liz and my coach, who have been able to mentor me and help me to set these goals. And there's no way I could have gotten to where I'm at with grad school and my athletic career without those mentors. And so I think that's something that if everyone could have mentors, I think it could make a huge difference in someone's life, as well as mentors having the opportunity to give back. I know that Coach Taylor, as well as Liz and all of my other mentors, have talked about how they had mentors along the way when they were younger, who led them to where they're at today. So just kind of that idea of giving back and being able to help inspire the next generation.
This year's male postgraduate scholarship recipient earned a 3.80 GPA while double majoring in economics and political science. He plans on pursuing a master's degree from the London School of Economics. On the field, he was a 3-year starter for the USD soccer team and was named captain his senior season. Congratulations to this year's WCC Male Postgraduate Scholarship recipient from the University of San Diego, Ross Meldrum. You were a double major in economics and political science. You were vice president of the Economics Council at USD. You were part of the Model UN, captain of the soccer team. How did you manage to balance everything?
I think it was, it took me a little bit of time to figure that out. I think my freshman year, I was very much, okay, I need to settle myself in here, get used to the soccer, and then move on. But yeah, as you say, as I've kind of progressed through the years, I found myself able to get involved in more activities on campus. And I think it's just a matter of managing your time really, and kind of the time that you do have free, making sure that you're kind of putting it to its best use, whether that's studying or kind of organising with your other exec members if you're on a kind of campus organisation, but just making sure that you're on top of your things and kind of keeping everything in view so you can kind of know what's going on and what you need to be doing when.
Now that you're graduating USD, your plan is to get a master's in development studies at the London School of Economics. Can you explain what that is exactly and why it interests you?
So development studies is essentially kind of an international development kind of course. We look at kind of, different theories and kind of applied practices for development studies. But what it was for me that really attracted me to the course was the opportunity to specialise in development economics. And as you say, with my background in majoring in economics, that was something that really kind of interested me and appealed to me and was the reason I went for that course. And obviously it's a very prestigious university, so that was obviously another big factor. But I felt that kind of development, it was kind of in the middle of kind of my two majors with politics and economics. And I felt that that was probably the route that kind of put my studies to the best use, to get the most kind of out of what I've studied, kind of to help the most people. And that seemed to be the route that kind of was the best for me in terms of that.
And just to be a little more specific, I know you mentioned you being in San Diego the last 4 years and being in such close proximity to a place like Tijuana and noticing the differences between the two cities, even though they're so close, they're in different countries, and that has had a huge impact on how those cities have developed, and that sort of sparked your interest and desire in this topic. Can you talk a little more about that?
Yeah, so I think it just kind of, I think as you say, they're so close to each other geographically. I think it just highlights kind of the importance of kind of public policy and things like that, and shows that there are things that we can do as kind of politicians or people working for NGOs, that there are things that we can do to kind of bridge that. And kind of, I think although it's kind of sad to see, I think it shows that there are things that we can do. There are reasons they're developed differently, and can we kind of figure out what those reasons are and apply them to places that aren't so developed. And I think I've also found it really important that it's not just rich US versus Mexico. Even within San Diego, you see kind of vast inequalities with kind of the homeless population. And I think so, even within the US, there's a lot of work to be done and across kind of the developed world in terms of reducing inequality and things like that.
Our Female Sportsmanship Award winner is being recognized by her peers for her dedication to her team in the face of personal adversity. Congratulations to this year's Female Sportsmanship Award winner from University of the Pacific, Christine Gunnersdottir. It's been a tough year for you. Your soccer career at Pacific was cut short. You had to medically retire due to concussions, and this all happened right as a global pandemic was starting. How have you been able to keep a positive attitude?
I mean, it was a big shock when I found out I had been working my way back to playing soccer for 6 months, if not more. And I just thought to myself, of course, it was a harsh kind of news with the pandemic and hearing that I'm medically retired. But I just thought to myself, when I get kicked down, I was like, am I going to stay down or am I going to make a comeback and just look at it the best possible way? I still get to show up and see my teammates every day. And I get to still be a part of the team. Even though I'm not on the field, I can still be a part of the team on the bench. I can cheer them on. I can do anything in my control to make them have the best season possible. So I just thought to myself, I'm going to be the best manager ever, and I wasn't gonna let some medical retirement stop me. And I just asked the coaches, what can I do? How can I help? And they just told me we need someone to take care of the food, and if you could help us on the sidelines, and if you could help us with goalie warm-ups. And I loved the idea. I thought it was the perfect fit since I couldn't even play anymore, and I didn't want to let go of my teammates just there. So thankfully I got that 1 year as a team manager.
So you mentioned some of the ways that you helped out with the team, getting up early to make sure everyone filled out their COVID forms, making sure the equipment was ready for practices and for games, helping out with post-game meals. Can you tell me what you got out of this season?
Just knowing I could be there for my teammates and my best friends. This was like my second family away from home. And just knowing I could be there, like check in with them every morning. They did their COVID protocols and all that, but then I would also be like, hey, how are you feeling? Like, is everything okay? And we would have a chat. If someone was feeling down, we could chat it out. I could help them out. And just knowing that I could try to make everything run as smooth during a pandemic. It was a new season, completely new, like it was in the spring, completely new circumstances, new coaches, so many new teammates. Anything I could help with, it was a rewarding experience, both for me, and then I knew that was also helping the team reach their maximum potential, and just it was a great experience.
Your soccer career obviously didn't end the way you thought it would, but looking back at your time at Pacific, what sort of comes to mind when you just think about your career?
I would say thankful. Even though I didn't finish off with the 4 years of playing time and all that, it helped me grow into the person that I am today. And I honestly, when I look back at me in 2017 coming into Pacific, this experience has completely changed my life. Honestly, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Pacific. They have helped me with everything.
Our Male Sportsmanship Award winner is being recognized by his peers for a selfless act on the biggest stage for the good of the team. Congratulations to this year's Male Sportsmanship Award winner from University of San Diego, golfer Ryan Bisharat. Let's go back to May 19th. You just finished golfing in the second round of the NCAA Regionals. With one round to go, USD was in 6th place and the top 5 teams advanced to the national tournament. Tell us what happened next.
You know, the second round, we had the lowest round of the tournament, and it was that one round that we had been waiting for all year when everybody clicked and we all played well. I was the drop scorer. Unfortunately, that golf course didn't suit me the way I wanted it to. And our 6th guy, Harrison, who came on the trip, was playing well. He hits it far. He suits that golf course perfectly. And I felt the best chance we had of making it to the national championship was to have him in the lineup. If there's one thing I learned in, I guess now 5 years of college golf, it's to be selfless and it's to do what's best for the team. And in that aspect, I mean, it worked out. It did. It could have been my very last round of college golf, which was bittersweet, but I truly deep down inside knew it was the best thing for the team.
I was just going to say, you voluntarily benched yourself essentially for the good of the team, knowing you may have just played your last round of college golf. How hard of a decision was that for you?
You know, I would have expected it to be a little bit tougher. I knew deep down inside, even after the first round, I knew I wasn't playing like myself. It was just it happens in golf where, you know, you're not always playing well. And the coaches talked about it amongst themselves. So they were sort of thinking about it. And when I came to them and told them, it sort of just solidified that decision. They were very, very happy. And it was hard for them, actually. Coach Riley, you know, pulled me aside even after I, you know, told him to take me out and asked if I was sure. I did get a birdie on my last hole. So I told myself, if that was the last hole I played at college golf, I made a birdie, so be it. It is what it is. But Harrison really deserved to be in that lineup that day. And it did show. So I think it was an incredible decision. It was again, it was tough, but I knew it was right.
Well, like you said, your intuition was right. USD made it to nationals for the 4th time in program history. What was your reaction after you advanced to nationals? Was it relief, satisfaction, kind of knowing you made the right decision, just joy for advancing that far?
Exactly that. So I'm not sure if you saw the putt that our freshman Andy Zhu made on the final hole to send us to nationals. I was recording that video, and you could hear me in the video. I started screaming. It was one of the happiest moments I've ever had. Again, we were on top of the world. There was a good 3-day high that we had that we felt like we could conquer anything. And, we brought into nationals, but it was just such a tough golf course. And it was a learning experience, especially for the young guys. For myself, I knew it was my last tournament for sure now. And, so I hope they learned something this year, and I hope they could bring it to the table next year.
The hashtag WCC Represent Award is given to an individual or team that best promotes the values of sportsmanship and community service. This year's recipients dedicated themselves to raising awareness for an important social cause. Congratulations to this year's hashtag WCC Represent Award winners, the St. Mary's volleyball team. And joining us now are 2 members of the St. Mary's volleyball team, Selby Christensen and Boo Laird. So in January of 2020, the volleyball team decided to take on the issue of human trafficking. Can you just explain why you chose this specific issue?
Yeah, definitely. It was actually our coach who brought it to our attention at first. He has a real passion for advocating for the individuals that are affected by human trafficking. And our entire team really got on board quite quickly because the issue of human trafficking is extremely widespread, and especially in our area. And so being women, it definitely hit home. There's so many women our age out there and much younger and older that are greatly affected. And so we were all really inspired to take on this action.
It's such a prevalent issue in our society, and it's just not talked about or acknowledged enough. And so we all, like Selby said, jumped on board because we want to take that first step in educating ourselves and educating others on this issue to hopefully make a change in the future.
In an effort to raise awareness, you started a club on campus called Light, Gales Against Human Trafficking. Can you just tell us about some of the ways you've helped raise awareness through this club?
Yeah, so we've started off small because COVID kind of put a little wrench in our plans, but so we started off with just doing some advocacy activities, like standing on street corners, holding signs, trying just to raise people's awareness towards this issue. And then we took a step further and we met with survivors of human trafficking, and we talked to them about their experience, just in hopes to better understand and gain insight on the issue.
Since the murder of George Floyd last summer, there's been a bigger spotlight on racial injustice, and human trafficking disproportionately affects underprivileged communities and people of color. Can you tell us about your relationship with the organization Love Never Fails?
Yeah, we've done a ton of stuff with Love Never Fails. They're an amazing organization that we've been really lucky to work with. We've had a few Zoom sessions with them, learning about what exactly they do and the outreach that they provide in the Bay Area. And then during the Christmas time and around the holidays, we also had an outreach that we allowed some of the people on our team and other people, whoever wanted to donate money or gifts to people in need that are within that organization and are helped by that organization. And so that was an amazing outreach that we were able to do with them.
I know you mentioned obviously COVID sort of put a wrench in your plans and limited what you were able to do this past year, but what plans do you have for the coming year to continue your efforts?
Yeah, definitely. We definitely want to hold an event on campus that not only involves every student athlete on campus that we can get, but also the broader student body. We want to at least have a speaker or something like that. We're trying to contact different people who are really at the forefront of the issue within everything about human trafficking. And so we're hoping to hold events and honestly just spread enough awareness. You can't be too knowledgeable about this. So that's our main goal.
Yeah, and on top of that, we want to try to raise money too, along with the awareness. So some of our events will include these fundraising opportunities, and then we can hopefully raise enough money where it makes a difference, and we can donate that money to organizations like Love Never Fails.
The Mike Gillerin WCC Female Scholar Athlete of the Year was granted an extra year of eligibility, and she took full advantage, leading her team to within a point of the national title. Off the court, she earned her degree in sports medicine with a 3.96 GPA. Congratulations to the Mike Gillerin WCC Female Scholar Athlete of the Year, Pepperdine tennis player Ashley Leahy. When we talked earlier this year, you talked about the sacrifice of personal success for the good of the team, and look how it turned out. You and your team ended up with the best season in program history. What was that ride to the national championship match like for you?
It was absolutely incredible. It wasn't my best tennis that week. I was not, on fire, feeling confident. I was so impressed with the way that everybody stepped up where they needed to and got us the wins that we needed, whether it was doubles or singles. And I couldn't have been more proud to be a Wave. That was the most incredible feeling, to be a part of that team. I felt like we had something so special. We're not a legacy program that makes the finals every year, but I just felt like we showed something different. We had a different energy than the other teams. We were excited to be out there. I just felt so lucky to be on that team.
So academics are just as important to you as playing tennis. You graduated with a bachelor's in sports medicine, 3.96 GPA, but you missed your graduation because of the NCAA tournament. So your school president surprised you with a makeshift graduation in Orlando. Can you talk about that?
That was so special. I don't think Jess expected it either. I know I was completely out of the blue. For me, I had no idea what we were doing. We were just told that we were meeting in this room, and then Jim Gash was there, and he had this whole ceremony ready for us, and it was just so special because I've never really graduated from anything. High school I did online, and I've never been to a graduation because we're usually playing conference tournament. It was so special because it was such an intimate celebration too. It wasn't like a big gathering. It was just me and Jess and the people that we really, really care about, just like showing how happy they were for us to have hit that milestone.
How hard was it to balance academics and playing tennis over the last 5 years for you?
I felt like both experiences made the other one easier. There were definitely times when it was a lot, and there was a lot on my plate and stress, and you come home from a really long day and still have 6 hours of homework. All in all, I remember tennis was a great break. It was like a mandatory break from studying, and studying was a mandatory break from thinking about tennis, and it just kind of all balanced together. It was two things that I really loved, and they both kind of took away the stress of the other one, because it was like I didn't have time to dwell on things that were going badly in tennis, and I didn't have time to stress too much about what was going on in school because I had practice. So yeah.
Now that your time at Pepperdine is done, what are you most proud of, whether it's on the court or in the classroom or something else?
I just am most proud of my growth as a person. I think when I came to Pepperdine, tennis is an individual sport, and I didn't really care as much about the team as I cared about myself. And I wanted to do really well, and I wanted to be the best student I could be, and I wanted to be the best tennis player I could be. But it wasn't so much for me. It wasn't necessarily for the right reasons. And then I think as I developed as a person, because of the culture and the environment at Pepperdine, I kind of on paper, I was doing the same things. I was doing really well in tennis and doing well on school, but the motivation behind it all had changed. It was not so much that I was doing those things so that I could be successful, but because I was doing those things because I enjoyed it and because it was an opportunity for me to be the best person I could be a leader on my team, support my teammates day in and day out, and be a good classmate as well, study for tests with people and just kind of bring good energy to everything that I could. And then the grades and the results kind of ended up taking care of themselves. And I have no regrets in terms of how I behaved and how I acted and how I represented my school, because I still felt like I had the demeanor of someone who went to Pepperdine for 5 years.
This year's Male Scholar Athlete of the Year was a finalist for National Player of the Year after leading his team to the NCAA championship game. In the classroom, he has a 3.79 GPA while working towards his master's in business administration and is a first-team academic All-American. Congratulations to the Mike Gillerin WCC Male Scholar Athlete of the Year from Gonzaga basketball, Corey Kispert. What was the journey to the national title game like for you, given all the expectations and pressure coming into the season, being ranked number 1, being undefeated for almost the whole time? It still seemed like you guys were just kind of out there on the court having fun.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I think Coach Hughes talked about it a lot, and we didn't really discuss it much as a team. And when we got to the tournament, the press coverage kind of started to ramp up, and people started asking the question more and more. So by the time we got down to the Elite Eight and Final Four, we kind of looked around and like, oh, we're here, we're undefeated, and we're here. So it was kind of like when a pitcher throws a no-hitter in baseball, you don't really talk about it much. And we didn't want to, bring that into jeopardy by talking about it, amongst ourselves.
When you started at Gonzaga, it was the year after they made the Final Four. I imagine your goal was to get back there, and you did. Have you thought about what kind of legacy you're leaving in Spokane now? Yeah, totally. I've had a lot of time to kind of sit back and think about it. I'm really, grateful and happy to be a part of that program, kind of leave my mark in that huge story that Gonzaga's kind of turned into. As far as the legacy goes, I think that's something you'll figure out, and we'll see itself through in the years to come. But for now, I'm just really happy with the way that I played, and I think that I left that school, a better place than I found it. You were a first-team All-American, also a first-team academic All-American. You're on your way to earning your MBA. How were you able to not only balance your schoolwork with such a demanding schedule at Gonzaga, but even earn your undergrad degree in 3 years? Yeah, that's the advantage of going to summer school and being diligent with that. Being in summer school for 3 summers, it really helped me prepare for an academic year like last year was. A lot of online classes, a lot of self-motivation, making schedules, sticking to routines, stuff like that. It really kind of gave me a leg up when it came to making schoolwork this year. So I felt like I was prepared for it and just kind of leaned back on what I did over the summers. In the last 25 years, there have only been 7 men in college basketball to be named first-team All-American and academic All-American in the same year. 4 of those 7 guys were Zags, including yourself. What do you think that says about the program? It speaks volumes. You can't really put that into words. Stephanie Galbraith, our academic advisor and coordinator, has done such a great job since her time being there, making sure guys getting work on time and communicate with professors and do everything they can to be ahead when you start traveling and being on the road. So, all thanks go to her and the way that she balances her schedule and her time. So, and for us, it's just kind of, following the schedule and making sure the items get checked off on the to-do list. As we conclude this year's award show, we leave you with a look back at some of the most memorable moments of the 2020-21 season in the West Coast Conference. Thank you for watching.
And San Francisco wins it. They upset the number 4 team in the country. The 2-0. Epinesa! Left field, gone!
That's it, a no-hitter for Alex Jacob.
Oh my goodness! Take by Logan Johnson. Much deserved.
There's Ali with 3 on the timer, putting it up and cans it.
Wow. And BYU wins the West Coast Conference Championship.
There's the defense we're talking about.
He's won it! Alex Chernis! He scores a glorious free kick!
Yusuf Jackson.
And a steal on the inbound pass. Shaylee Gonzalez with 4 points in about 5 seconds.
And there it is, IIE with the assist, and he is the first Gonzaga Bulldog with the triple-double.
Townsend. Oh, she got it! What a performance tonight from Jalen Sugg. That'll do it.
Pepperdine waves are waves no more. They are tidal waves.
Here's Suggs the other way. Pull up three for the win. Yes! 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 Of the championship game!
Connor Mance, the first American man to win the NCAA individual cross-country title since 2008, wins it for BYU. The Cougars of BYU are the national champs, and talk about depth. 5 in the top 34.
Pepperdine has won the NCAA Division I Men's Golf Championship.
Santa Clara, you are national champions!